Hello. How's it going? Is this pink enough? Does this come off as pink? It's supposed to be pink. I think it doesn't get much more pink than this because pink light is an important thing in this next book and in the life of the author that wrote the book, because we're back to Dick. We're back to the Dick, the Philip K. Dick. Been a while since I read my last Dick, but we are back again. We're back on track with the Dick. In the past couple of years, I read Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, also known as Blade Runner, and I loved it. I loved that book. It was a fantastic mix of lively science fiction with philosophical, sometimes spiritual themes. And I also read the short story collection that I talked about in the previous vlog, which had it had good things. It had decent stuff, some duds. Not everything that Dick wrote is good, but Dick genuinely strikes me so far as a writer that's at least interesting. After getting this first grasp at Dick's writing through the short stories and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, I wanted to dive deeper into his work, and I decided to tackle one of his more challenging and weirder texts. I read VALIS by Philip K. Dick. Now, what you have to know about Philip K. Dick, if you don't already, is that he had a colorful history with drugs, and at one point thought he saw God or some sort of divine entity that enlightened him about the world and beyond. I highly recommend reading through his Wikipedia page if you haven't, because he had some wacko experiences in his later life, where he claimed to one day have been struck by a blinding pink light, which caused him to hallucinate over the next couple of years of his life. He started writing an 8,000 page exegesis. Is that even how you pronounce it? A 8,000 plus page journal about his theories and wisdom and enlightenment about the world and God and whatever. That's an actual thing, part of which was actually published after his death, so you can actually read part of that. These hallucinations that he thought to be of some sort of divine or paranormal nature even allegedly told him about some sort of mysterious sickness or health condition that his son had, which no doctor had ever diagnosed. So when he told the doctors about his sudden knowledge of this health condition his son had, the doctors did actually recognize it, and it saved the son's life apparently. It's really strange stuff that happened to him. I mean, most of it just seems like the drugs fried his brain. I think Philip K. Dick knew about that as well. I think he did take these weird experiences as genuine calls from a higher power. I think there's something in him that actually genuinely believed that. You wouldn't write a fucking 8,000 page journal about all of this if you didn't. But it also seems that part of him knew that it was all a weird sort of madness and had some ridiculous side of it. A bunch of his later books dealt with drug use and people experiencing hallucinations and things. These experiences did appear in a bunch of his work, especially in his later years. But VALIS is a special outlier that is marked by Dick's real-life experiences more than any other book has ever been. And it might get complicated here because this is a whole can of worms, but I'm trying to keep it simple and short. VALIS is a semi-autobiographical science fiction novel that deals with all of these real life experiences he had with the pink light, with this divine power that gave him wisdom beyond all reality, and his sort of diving into this madness. This book sort of processes his own life experiences with all of that. Philip K. Dick is a character in this book, and he is the narrator in this book. Like, it is actually Philip K. Dick, the author, that is the narrator of this book. He is part of the story, but there's also a secondary character, an alter ego that this narrator tells us about. This character is called Horse Lover Fat. That's not a joke, that's actually the name of the protagonist here. And there's even a reason explanation why he carries this bizarre name. So we have Philip K. Dick himself as a character telling us the story about Horse Lover Fat, the alter ego of Philip K. Dick, the fictional version of him that experiences all the strange pink light, divine wisdom, exegesis writing, nonsense, madness, you know. And the whole book spends so many pages with him rambling about all his like divine wisdoms, about the different layers of the universe, and how the world was created, and different Gnostic beliefs before the Bible, and Jesus was an alien, and Elijah was different people in time, and we are all immortal through logos, meaning living information. And it's just page after page of brain-frying, overwhelming rambling of the most complex, hard to grasp information about the universe. It's a challenging book to read because you will not understand everything that is said by the characters here, who are, you know, Horse Lover Fat, the alter ego of Philip K. Dick, spouting all these beliefs that he received through this divine entity that speaks to him, parallel to what happened to the author in real life. Hard to grasp everything that's thrown into your face, and the book is also light on plot. Most of the time is spent with these ramblings and these discussions between the characters. Characters are often making fun of this Horse Lover Fat and his wild beliefs that take over his life and pretty much almost destroy his life. So there is also this side of Philip K. Dick himself making fun of his own fanaticism. It's a very, very multi-sided affair. It's really interesting because it's very clearly this way of a guy processing his own really strange and difficult experience through fiction writing. Like I said, the plot is thin. It does like follow Horse Lover Fat's life and decisions a little bit, and how he further and further alienated himself from the rest of the world by following his strange beliefs and trying to figure out what's behind it. It is definitely character focused and even, like, you know, author focused, because the boundary between this fiction text and the author's real life is constantly broken. It's a mouthful. It's a brain fryer. Every page is a brain fryer to a certain extent on purpose. I'm pretty sure it is, like, the fact that you won't understand everything that's said here, the millions and millions of references to ancient texts and philosophical ideas and whatnot, and obscure pre-Bible Christian beliefs and whatever. There's so much in here that you will not all get, and I'm very certain it is on purpose, because the whole point is that the character Horse Lover Fat is experiencing this overwhelming blast of information by this divine entity or whatever, and I think it's purposefully written this way so the reader experiences a similar kind of thing, all in a way to mirror the author's actual life experiences. And while I'm not sure if it's great as a novel in itself, but as the result of an author processing some very strange and confusing real life experiences through this fictional writing, it's complete self-reflection, this entire book. That's what makes it fascinating in that way. This should never be anyone's first Philip K. Dick book. I don't think that would make any sense. But if you are somebody who read some Philip K. Dick before and is interested in the person, I think VALIS is super interesting that way. And it was engaging. I did wish it had more of a plot. The second part of the book definitely has a little bit more of a drive in terms of plot, but it's still not like, it's still character focused and more about the ideas and conversations of these characters. And it's a whacked out book from beginning to end, but it is unique and interesting in several ways. The thing is too that this ended up being the first book of a trilogy. There's 2 other books in the VALIS trilogy that all make use of Dick's weird, spiritual, maddening beliefs. And the other books don't actually deal with the same characters. They apparently, from what I gathered, they are based on the same subjects and themes, but they are not actual. They don't deal with the same characters. So I do want to read them, the other books in this trilogy, but I don't really know what to expect from them, like at all, honestly. I wonder if the other book is more plot driven than this one. If this was a work of self-reflection of the author, maybe the other book is more of a plot driven dive into the actual beliefs. I don't know. But this was VALIS by Philip K. Dick. Absolutely fucking strange book. One of the strangest books I've ever read, for sure. I hope to God what I was just saying about this book made sense and was easy to follow. I hope my little vlog discussion of this book wasn't just nonsensical rambling, just like the book was. I hope it didn't, it's not contagious. Goddamn. So, and then we're continuing with Philip K. Dick in a completely different direction because I read a singular short story that I stumbled over. Like I said before, Philip K. Dick doesn't always write bangers, but usually what he does write is at least decently interesting. What I read now, this short story that I'm gonna talk about, is definitely the first full-on blunder by Philip K. Dick that I didn't like at all, and that has more than one reason. I don't have cover art to show because this is a short story that was never released on its own, and it's not a short story that is included in a lot of compilations anyway. I think I know why. I dug it out of the internet. This is The Pre-Persons by Philip K. Dick. Now, we are about to get political in this bitch. Philip K. Dick's politics, from what I've gathered at least, seem to be all over the place in a way. Like, I feel like he had a lot of very leftist, almost communist sparks in himself. But I guess he also had some very conservative beliefs. Because The Pre-Persons is a anti-abortion story. It is a pro-life story. It was a reaction to the Roe v. Wade court case in the 70s. Philip K. Dick was not happy about that. He apparently he was very much pro-life and anti-choice. And so he wrote this amazing short story. I don't want to be too cynical. Let's start this way. This short story, he imagines a future where abortion laws have been liberated so much that abortions are possible and legal even years after birth. The law has been changed in a way that children do not have souls legally up until the age of 12, apparently because that's when kids are able to understand algebra and more complex math. So for some reason this is where they put the legal cutoff point. Up until the age of 12, children do not have souls in the eye of the law, and therefore it is a legal practice to abort them before they reach that age. And he imagines a world where abortion trucks drive through the town and collect stray kids that don't have a desirability form with them. They get put into a pound like stray cats or dogs, and if no parent comes and claims them, they get aborted. All of that attempting to do a moral story about abortion in a very one-sided way. Now here's the thing, politics aside, like even aside from where I stand on the subject, I'm a bit disappointed. Philip K. Dick has proven before that he was very capable of like marrying science fiction with very interesting and complex philosophical or societal subjects. He has been writing a lot of clever things about equally complex elements of humanity. So abortion rights being such a complex and delicate subject as well, I would have expected, no matter what political stance Dick had, I would have expected him to work it out with a lot more nuance and ingenuity. This short story, however, is so blunt and over the top that I couldn't take it seriously no matter what side of the discussion I would stand on. It's a sledgehammer approach to like moral preaching. The hypothetical with the future with the 12-year cutoff and no legal souls for kids up until 12, the whole hypothetical is so exaggerated that it doesn't really leave much room for the actual discussion about morality of abortion. Also, every actual argument for the pro-choice movement isn't even acknowledged here. There's no way that this short story is actually including acknowledging actual pro-choice arguments. So this is basically pointless by default. It is not actually engaging with the real life discussion about this subject. And he further digs his own grave with this one by the overpopulation myth is included here as one of the reasons why abortion law has developed so far in this fictional story, which is already like, it's not a strong foot to stand on, let's say that. And two, even more prominent, I think, this entire short story is so cynical in its approach towards feminism. It very clearly blames feminism and female rights movements for all of this. Every male character is absolutely miserable with their wives and just whine about how much power their wives apparently have over them through the legal system. Even aside the abortion subject, there are other like details that are picked up in the story that all paint this world of like a feminist, not even feminist, like a woman run dystopia, I guess, that does not make any sense. It's just laughable. Apparently Dick was afraid of women's rights becoming a woman's domination or whatever. It's just stupid. I mean, every character in this is insufferable anyway, but especially, like, the women are just dumb, almost fascist airheads, and the men are just, like, the whining victims. And then the actual plot element here to drive the story to something is actually something that I thought could have been interesting, because it deals with this man, who decides to, like, set an example demanding to be aborted with the argument that he is too stupid to understand algebra, which, according to law, means he doesn't have a soul, which means that he should be aborted. So he demands to be put down just to, give a exemplary gut punch to the system or whatever. And I thought, politics aside, this could have been a fairly interesting drive through this weird setting. But even that let me down and didn't really go anywhere in the end. I've already rambled on about this outdated short story, written out of bad faith for way too long anyway, so here's the conclusion. I would have thought Dick would have been able to write something more nuanced and with more ingenuity about a subject this delicate, no matter what side he standed on. The short story just doesn't work for what it's trying to do. There's no way this would convince anyone to changing their stance, because it's way too exaggerated and sledgehammery to actually reach somebody who isn't already on the same side as Dick. The story is way too cynical. It doesn't actually approach the real life discussion about the problem at all. It doesn't acknowledge the actual arguments of the pro-choice movement, and it just demonizes feminism, the movement for women's rights, or like equal rights. Demonizes women at all for a cheap sledgehammer morality shot, and it doesn't land anywhere near its goal, I don't think. And even aside from the political side, I don't even think that this story is very well written or interesting. The plot doesn't go anywhere interesting, and it is very shallow in what it's trying to do, which is not something that I would have expected from Dick. So yeah, there you have it. That was my dickish reads for this month. I mean, the short story is rightfully buried. Luckily, most of his writing is like, it has more to offer. I'm still gonna read other books by him. But yeah, I mean, that's that. Hello. How's it going? So, next book, No One Is Talking About This, by Patricia Lockwood. It's a pretty fresh one. I think this one was released just last year in 2022, and I believe it was also critically acclaimed. From what I've gathered, especially on Goodreads, it seems to be like a little bit of a hate it or love it thing for a lot of people. No One Is Talking About This deals with social media with a very modern point of view, and particularly with how social media use affects one's real life. It has a focus on the chronically online lifestyle. You know, the terminally always online experience. And there are two sides of this book. There are two sides to this book. It is very clearly structured in a way that it has a first half and a second half, part 1, part 2. And those do fairly different things. The entire first half of the book, part 1, honestly is more of a setup. Doesn't actually bear any plot elements yet itself. Because that first half of the book, all it does is give these vignettes of how it is to be terminally online. There is a protagonist, there is a woman that this book follows, but then at least the first half of the book doesn't follow like a thread, like a storyline. It's just individual little vignettes of like the social media use of that person. This is what the book really does well, in my opinion, is that it really has a finger on the pulse when it comes to this sort of culture. It captures that culture so well, that lifestyle and the many little phenomenons that are prevalent on social media platforms in this day and age. Like it takes into account like everything from the memes, the weird skewed humor that develops over like a lot of social media use, and like the endless cycles of eclectic global arguments about everything and everything, because everything is happening all at once and you are always urged to know about it all, because that is just the nature of the global technological information flooding that is social media. It's not like a flowing text, it's more like little... it's way too bright. You don't need to read the text, but it's like these individual little paragraphs or like even lines sometimes that are all broken up. That's, I guess, maybe purposefully so, to have... It has a similar feeling as scrolling through a timeline of individual posts, and the whole book is structured that way. It's not one flowing text moving from one situation to another. It's these little individual broken off vignettes, as I've said it before, these little paragraphs, each containing a different situation or like perspective or observation. I think that's the best word. And the entire first half of the book is nothing but little observations about how the protagonist's life being terminally online feels and what that encompasses. There's no plot yet. I would like to quote one of those little vignettes that I found really striking, really fitting, really encapsulating a lot of social media discourse and interactions. There was a new toy. Everyone was making fun of it, but then it was said to be designed for autistic people, and then no one made fun of it anymore, but made fun of the people who were making fun of it previously. Then someone else discovered a stone version from 1,000,000 years ago in some museum, and this seemed to prove something. Then the origin of the toy was revealed to have something to do with Israel and Palestine, and so everyone made a pact never to speak of it again, and all of this happened in the space of like 4 days. That's like one of these broken off vignettes. I think that it's really close to the actual zeitgeist of like social media discourse, that it's like a perfect encapsulated little version of this phenomenon. And like there's lots of these little things in here. There's also one that I really liked. This is where she has like a little interaction with somebody else, a little piece of dialogue. "Got a foot fetish, Sam?" she asked the wind-burnt Indiana man who had complimented her too lavishly on her black ankle boots. "Yes, ma'am, I do," he answered, holding all his happiness in his face, aware of his own luck, for bare toes in springtime and summer were everywhere. Arches, ankles, soles. "And whose feet are you into?" "The feet of my wife, ma'am. Those are the feet that I love." This was said with a rosy nuance of admonishment. She was touched and put a pen to her lips. There were still gentlemen in this world. "You might think I'm a little bit of a pervert," he began, not wanting to be misunderstood, but she cut him off. "I don't think you're a pervert at all, Sam. If you were a member of my generation, He would come in a special jar over a period of months and then post pictures of the jar online. A foot fetish. She took a deep breath. A foot fetish is like a beautiful meadow in comparison. A foot fetish is Pachelbel's canon. It has good bits in there about the online life. These little vignettes have like observations and commentary about more observations, less commentary about, you know, the vibrant use of empty buzzwords and following news trends and you know. But it doesn't come off as cynical. It doesn't, even though there's plenty of weird or stupid things that are mentioned in relation to the whole social media culture, it never comes off as cynical or hateful towards that. It just pokes at it in a funny way. And most of it does, from my own experience, being online a lot, very true, very well observed in my opinion. But like I said, the entire first half of the book is nothing but that. Just these vignettes with these observations about social media life, and it does establish the relationship of the protagonist with this technology. And even though these vignettes are funny and poignant at a lot of times, it goes on for a little too long, and I kept waiting for it to get to a point or to get to a plot, and the longer it went on, this first half of the book, the less I was expecting there to be a plot, and I was beginning to expect this whole book to just be these rather pointless vignettes that are somewhat amusing but completely overstay their welcome. But then the second half hits, part 2, and this is where the build-up concept is flipped upside down. The protagonist actually experienced a real-life tragedy, and this is where there actually develops a sort of thread, a plot that you follow along. It's still written in these individual vignettes, but now they actually move somewhere. They actually move to an expected destination, and you get to see the sort of character development of this always online person being dragged back into her own real life, which puts a lot of things into a different perspective for this protagonist, and works as an interesting showcase of the clash of escapist social media versus real life experience. If it wasn't for that second part, I wouldn't be giving this book much of a good score, because while that first half of the book was amusing and clever at points, it didn't have much bite in the long run or much of a point, and went on for a little bit too long. The second half is what makes it pay off to a certain degree. I ended up giving this 3 out of 5 stars, though I was very unsure if I should give this 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5. I guess you could say my real rating would be somewhere in between. I did like it. I had a good chuckle at points. I thought the poignant and accurate observations about social media life were really good, surprisingly accurate. Once shit hits the fan, it was very engaging too. I even thought there were some decent emotional moments in there, but I don't think it's great as literary fiction about very now online culture. It is successful at capturing that, but it is not an amazing read, I don't think. You know, most of the criticism, the negative opinions about this book, like, come from a place where they think the book makes no sense at all, and it's just a sequence of random nonsense, which I kinda get, because the first half of the book kinda is that, since there's no thread yet, and it's just these little social media perspectives in vignette form. if you don't make it to the second half of the book, this book really doesn't have much to offer. And so I have a feeling that a lot of people that didn't like the book just didn't even make it that far, which would really, I don't know, feels like that would explain a lot of the negative Goodreads reviews. But yeah, I thought it was fine. I thought it was worth a read, especially if you are interested in literary fiction about, social media, or if you are involved or were involved in the past with social media. I think this has some good stuff to offer, though it isn't amazing. I wouldn't call this amazing, except for the cover art. The cover art is awesome. It's one of my favorite book covers I've seen, honestly. That was No One Is Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood. Yeah.